Good evening. You're welcome to Achievers Bridge Career Night. And today, being January Career Night 2025, we will be having a discussion on how to start a community pharmacy in Nigeria. My name is Emma Mbiza, the co-founder of Achievers Bridge, which is a personal development platform aiming to create an ideal environment for dreamers to actualize their dreams into reality. And here with me on this career night are great pharmacists and personnels, in the person of pharmacist Bauer Fumen, apologies for the name, and then pharmacist Aranda Avindia. I am very sure that by the end of today, those of you who are looking forward to owning a community pharmacy will get all the relevant information that can lead them to their desired path in life. Thank you so much for joining us on these sessions, pharmacist Bauer Fumen and then pharmacist Avindia. So please, can you briefly tell us a sentence or two about yourself, for the next few seconds? Let's go with pharmacist Avindia. Over to you,
Okay,
pharmacist.
good evening, everyone. My name is Pharmacist Aranda Musa Avindia. I am the MD and CEO of Shakaina Pharmacy Limited. I am a pharmacist, of course, by profession, graduate from the prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, some few years ago. Shakina Pharmacy was established in the year 2019, and currently we're operating 4 branches across 2 states within Nigeria. Thank you very much. I don't know if that's okay.
Thank you so much. Over to you, pharmacist Fumen. Can you briefly tell us about yourself?
Thank you so much. I'm pharmacist SF Bawa, Salman Ufumen Bawa. I'm the CEO of Basa Pharmaceuticals and Stores Limited, residing in Zaria. I'm a graduate of prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and I live and I'm based in Zaria. I do community practice in pharmacy practice.
Wow. These are all great, informations. And from the way those guys introduce themselves, this gives us hope that we are going to get a first-hand information from experienced individuals. So thank you so much for those introductions. So can you briefly tell us, what a community pharmacy is all about? Because different people may be having a different understanding of, let's say, a perception about what it means. So this time around, can we go with pharmacist Fumen Bauer? Can you tell us briefly what a community pharmacist is all about? Community pharmacy, I mean.
Okay, community pharmacist is a pharmacy-based profession practice where pharmacists practice in the community setting where we are after direct service to our clients, our environment. We are the first point of call when it comes to service in the community setting. Pharmacies have different
It seems we lost him due to network. Oh. Avindia, can you take up from there?
Okay, just as my brother and a colleague started mentioning, community pharmacy is one of the areas of pharmacy profession. I'm talking about professionals now that pharmacists can practice. It is a community-based practice where
um,
pharmacists have outlets within the communities serving the needs of the populace, and where the pharmacist is the head of that medical service. He can also have other support staffs that will attend to him, and we offer services being the first point of call, such as basis, point of care tests, diagnosis, and even referral. With advancement, we even have vaccination services and family planning services added to the community practice based on the tax sharing policy of the federal government.
Thank you. Thank you so much, pharmacist, for that. We lost pharmacist Fumen due to some network challenges, but pharmacist Fumen, sorry, we lost you due to network challenges. Maybe you can just summarize briefly what you were saying when we lost you.
so sorry about that. It's actually network issue from my end.
Yeah, yeah. You can tell us briefly what you were saying when we lost you.
Oh, so sorry about that. That was a network glitch from my end. Like I was saying earlier, I mean, community pharmacy practice is a community-based practice where pharmacists, as a profession, practice in the community. We are the first point of call where we interact with our clients. We handle minor illnesses. We are the first point of call where people come for some checkup. We do BP monitoring, we do blood sugar monitoring, we do some basic investigation, and we'll handle prescriptions and the proper usage of medications where we counsel our clients on how to use medications. We do some consultations and we give them a proper orientation about pharmacy as a profession because our environment is infiltrated with too many a lot of quacks around which affect the practice. And as a pharmacy profession, we want to sanitize the environment and give the best of service in the community when it comes to medication use and other services that has to do with medicines in the community base. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Those are responses from your professionals, from just the look. Thank you so much for those great responses. Okay. So this takes us to the next question. Now, at least we are on the same page with all the viewers on that responses. Now, the next question is now, what are the minimum requirements in terms of documentation that one need to have before he or she own a community pharmacy? Because we have different individuals that are aspiring to own a community pharmacy someday, or maybe some are even dreaming of, okay, I think I will need to start it now, but they lack the awareness and the knowledge about the minimum documents they need to have to be able to own one. Maybe let's go with pharmacist Avindia. Can you tell us the required documentations that one need to have handy before he or she can own a community pharmacy? Oh, we lost pharmacist Avindia. Maybe you can go on this response, pharmacist Bauer.
Okay, thank you so much for the honor. Okay, documentation has been required to own a community pharmacy. First of all, you have to know that pharmacy practice is not just a business, is a combination of clinical skill, business skill, and management skills. So there are certain requirements that's been needed for documentations. Permit me to say, okay, what would be the requirements to even start up the pharmacy in the first place? Because you can't talk about documentation until when you have started the pharmacy. So there are regulatory bodies that guide the operation of pharmacy profession. We have Pharmaceutical Council of Nigeria, which is the topmost, is the one that governs the practice of the profession generally. Then we will have Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, which is an association of the body of pharmacy profession. There's also documentation that have to do with them as a premise. We also have, if you're a lady, we have Association of Lady Pharmacists, for instance. You also require documentation of that premise from them. Then you also require documentation at the PCN office, that at the level of the PCN now, where if you are applying to open a new premise or you want to renew your license, because pharmacy profession is a profession that you have to renew your license yearly. So those are also part of the documentation you have to do at the pharmacist council level, which is usually at every state. We have offices at every state. Every state in Nigeria has an office of PCM or have office of PCM office. Then we'll also have, sorry for the glitch in network. Then we'll also have things that have to do keeping record in your premise, because when it comes to handling medications, there are so many. There are different categories of medications. There are different classes, and we don't dispense all drugs like any prescription or anybody that asks for the medication. There are proper documentation for every medication. So those are also records that I have to keep in the premise level. So I don't want to go deep into the categorization of the drugs and what I record that needed to be done in terms of documentation. Then you also keep record of expired products, any drug that's expired in your premise, because that will be needed by NAFDAC in terms of when they come for their own documentation or their own inspection, because these are also bodies that also come for inspection in the pharmacy practice, because they have to also checkmate to ensure that you are selling medication that they are not actually expired or they are contraband. Thank you.
Thank you so much, pharmacist Bauer. Thank you for giving us that whole lot of information. So coming back to pharmacist Avindia, so let me just come up with the question again. It seems you had a network break when I was reading it out. So what are the minimum documentations that one need to have, to start a community pharmacy? Like the documents that one need to have handy. Yeah, over to you.
Okay, the first document that one need to have is a certificate of registration with the Corporate Affairs Commission. Pharmacy is mandated that must be registered as a company with the Corporate Affairs Commission to obtain, and the registration can either be if you are a pharmacist, can either be a business name or a private limited liability company. And most pharmacies prefer to use the private limited liability companies because it's a bigger form of registration. Um, Before 2020, the Company and Allied Matters Act, CAMA, mandates that one person cannot own a limited liability company. But the new Company and Allied Matters Act, as amended in 2020, allow one person to own a limited liability company. So what I'm saying in terms of documentation, only you alone can register a company and own the company. That's the first step of the documents you need to have at hand. Another document you need to have at hand is the academic qualifications. Number one needs to be, if you're a pharmacist that want to do community practice, you must have graduated and you must have been fully registered. Newly graduated pharmacists doesn't have license. What they have is provisional license that should cover them for their internship. So one of the documents you need to have as a pharmacist is your full registration, and then you need to have either your NYSC discharge certificate or exemption, as the case may be. Then you need to also have the company letterhead. Those are the few documents. So your company registration, your NYSC exemption or certificate, your pharmacy license. Those are then the company letterhead, because that is what you use to proceed further with any correspondence. You cannot just say, hey, I've registered company verbally. Those are some of the documents. And then if you're not the superintendent pharmacist, of course, another document you need is an appointment letter and contract agreement for the superintendent pharmacist. So these are the baseline documentations that one need to have before you proceed. Thank you.
Wow, I believe we have our viewers out there that are like, wow, so this information can be, as concise and then easy like this, but then because we don't know the right people to reach out to, thank you for these great pharmacists that have given out their time and then are willing to be an agent of change to our young professionals coming up. Okay, so now still with you, pharmacist Avindia, can you
Yes.
just briefly tell us the steps involved in starting a community pharmacy? Now, that's the documents you listed to us, but can you uh, just give us a summary of the steps involved? Okay, you go first of all, start a company. After you get a company, you go to point A. After you go to point A, you go to point B. After point B, you go to point C. Like a summarized steps involved in opening a community pharmacy. I don't know if the question is clear anyway.
Yeah, it's very clear. It's
Sure.
very clear. Okay, I've mentioned first of all the company registration and the basic documents. Those are the first things I mentioned. Secondly, you need to acquire a location. You
Okay.
cannot go to the pharmacy council without having a shop. The location I'm talking about is the premise itself. You need to have rented or has built a premise. That is the second step. Then the next step is to, for yourself, if you are the superintendent pharmacist, or if you have appointed someone to be your superintendent pharmacist, the next thing is to apply for location approval. Applying for location approval uh, acquire attract some charges. The pharmacy council have reviewed the charges recently. It used to be about 15,000 and now it should be about 25,000 if I get it right. So you need to apply for location approval and then wait. Now, the next thing is, I may not be able to give you so much details, but I believe we'll
Sure,
be able
sure.
to have
Just a
some
summarized
reactions.
version, yeah.
So the next step is to wait for the council to come to inspect the location, which they will do that. When they inspect the location, there are certain
We are with you, sir.
requirements they are going to look out for. The moment you meet up to that requirement, they will give you a go ahead to begin the next step. The next step is to fix the necessary things needed in the pharmacy. I'm talking about the shelving, the pharmacist office, the conditions for the drugs, and then you will be required to get a location approval banner from the pharmacy council to paste in the location to show that This place is under approval, and you have 6 months to standardize your practice before second inspection. So when you are ready, when you have done past this first stage, you have set up everything. At this stage, you can even put your drugs and begin your practice. You will now apply for second inspection. That's the next step. Second application for second inspection. Now, second inspection is when the council come and look at what you have fixed, and then if they are okay with what you have done, they will now ask you to go ahead and do new premises registration. So that's the next. So company, company registration, obtaining a fiscal stock, applying for location approval. After location is been approved, applying for second inspection. After that, you will now apply for new premise registration. With that, with these 5 steps, I think you're good.
Wow, wow. These are just straight to the point. I think even someone that have zero experience or have never heard of something like that will be able to get, a clear information from this. Pharmacist Fumembawa, can you give us your own comment and reflection with regards to that question?
Okay, thank you so much. Just like Farmer Vindia have rightly said, those are the requirements actually that you need. You have to follow those procedures. You have to follow those steps. But another thing I have to add again is when it comes to the PCM, there are many requirements that has to do with PCM. The shop size matters. There's a square meter that determines whether you get approval or not. For retail, it has a specific square meter. Then for wholesale, it has different requirements. Then you also need a fire extinguisher in the premise. You also need a refrigerator that is working. You require a functioning air condition because most drugs have to be kept at temperature below 30 degrees Celsius. So the environment has to matter in terms of you getting easy approval. So all these things have to be made available, and the cleanness and also the environment. Is it where it is too rowdy? Is it in a park? Is it in a garage? It also matters a lot. Thank you so much.
Wow. These are informations like if you are watching us on this session and then you are thinking, okay, I need to start, a community pharmacy, please pay so much attention to what these veterans are saying, because these are experienced people that are, what do I call it now, into community pharmacy practice. So please take whatever they're saying very seriously, and then you're gonna get all the steps and the information you need. So thank you so much, pharmacists, for this information, very useful information. So now this takes us to the next question. Okay, now we have looked at the documentations required, and then we have looked at the steps one can take, in order to start a community pharmacy. Now, the next question is this: what is the minimum amount, in ranges? It may not be an exact amount, in range, that a person should possess in order to start a minimum standard community pharmacy without considering the premise rental fee. For instance, now without looking at the rental fee, one may be thinking of, okay, I want to start a pharmacy. Okay, should somebody that is having up to, let's say, 20,000 naira in his own account, be thinking of starting a community pharmacy, looking at the gadgets one need to buy, looking at the stocking one need to have, or things like that. So what is the minimum amount that one need to have? At least, it can be a range, looking at a minimum standard community pharmacy. Pharmacist Fumen Bauer, we go with you first this time around.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, when it comes to starting up a community pharmacy, I think the first capital you need is the knowledge about the business. That's the greatest capital you can have as any business owner. You can't go into something that you are blind, you don't have idea about it, because your knowledge about the business will even determine how you're able to manage what you have in order to do each of the, or to assign each of the tasks, or to do each of the tasks that need to be carried out. Because for instance now, someone that doesn't know a jack about the business doesn't know how much it will require to make shelf, or doesn't know how will he allot shelving, how much will he allot for the premise, how much will he allot for drugs, how much will he allot for even the license if you are not a pharmacist. So that is one. Then secondly again, I'll talk about the kind of community pharmacy you want to do. Majorly there are two kinds of community pharmacy. We have retail pharmacy and we have wholesale pharmacy. So for retail pharmacy, the requirement is not as high as compared to wholesale pharmacy. Because when you say retail, it means you are at the lowest level. Like there's a chain in when it comes to handling medication in the community. We have manufacturers, we have distributors, we have wholesalers, we have retailers down like that. So the retail person is like the least person in the chain, and you may not need much compared to someone that will open a wholesale pharmacy. So first of all, we look at, okay, the shop size. Where are you renting the shops? And location also matters, because the amount you take to open a pharmacy in Kaduna, it will not be the same amount you take to open a pharmacy in Abuja or Lagos, because environment determine how the cost of everything that will happen when it comes to opening the community pharmacy. So first, talking about the issue of renting, if you are going to rent the place or you are going to build your own structure, it also determines how much money will go into it. So for the shop size now, some shops probably they may be very tiny. I've seen instances where people have to break the wall to get access
Ah, we lost pharmacist Bauer while dishing out stuffs. Oh,
shop size.
okay, he's back. Yeah, continue,
Oh,
sir.
so sorry for
Continue. We
that.
lost
There's
at some
network
point.
issue.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about the shop size now. Talking about, okay, some places location matters a lot, like I said earlier. Then again, the shop size. There are some shops that you have to even break 2 to 3 shops and collapse the wall and make it to be single shop in order to obtain the shop size is being required. Then you come down to issue of shelving. You have to do your own due diligence and do some market survey and get the exact cost of the kind of shelving you want to make. And looking at the issue of the aesthetics of the place again, you look at, have to paint, you have to screen it, you have to do signage. Because there must be a signage after PCN have approved the place. You need a signage. Then you also talk about the issue of the cost of the show glasses, the cost of, if there's no tile, you have to tile the place. In terms of issue of the pharmacist office, like Amavinda rightly said, pharmacist office too, you have to also furnish the place. You buy refrigerator, a functional refrigerator, you buy air conditions, you make the place look okay. Then before you talk about the drugs now is themselves, because the drugs are actually your product. But all other things I've just mentioned is just to make the place habitable or to make the place nice to be able to function as a as a pharmacy community pharmacy practice. So for like somewhere around north, because okay, north, I know north have different regions, but somewhere I like around Jos or Kaduna State, at least a range of at least 10 million should be able to start up your pharmacy for you. But
Thank
for
you, sir.
somewhere like Abuja, Lagos, and the likes, probably you have to budget maybe like 15 to 20 million. That's for retail pharmacy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, pharmacist. So please, to all of us following this session, please, I don't want you guys to be scared away, and I don't want you guys to take the amount being given as a fixed number. This is just to give us an idea of how it may look like. And I love the way pharmacist Fumen Bawa presented the whole thing, giving a details about it, and then also opening the eyes of whoever that is watching it to know that, okay, this is not just something that is an exact amount. It can be something below, it can be something above, but just to give you an idea about it. So thank you so much, pharmacist Bawa, for that. So down to you, pharmacist Avindia. Can we have your reflection and your comments around that?
Okay, thank you, Pharmacist MI, for this opportunity. Well, concerning the minimum amount needed to start up a community pharmacist, my colleague has done justice to it. But just to add a few, I will rather say you need a minimum of 5 million for an average community pharmacy. A minimum. Because of course there is a standard for whatever amount you can pull. You can use 100 million to start the same retail we're talking about, depending on what you are fixing. But in order not to scare you from that, when we say a minimum, it doesn't mean you need to keep that amount on ground. For example, you can decide to register your company in 2025. You have spent some amount, part of it, right? Then
Sure.
by 2026, you may decide to do another input. So it mustn't really be something you're spending altogether. But let me say, let me justify why I say minimum is 5 million. Because of course you say excluding rent, and
Sure.
then uh, if we are going to be truthful to ourselves, we are going to bring in that idea, because most people, there are some places that rent can be as high as 1 million of one shop. So now, excluding rent, in your professional registrations, you are, if you are using your license, you may spend up to maybe 400,000 to do all the inspections and co, right?
Sure.
Or let me say 500,000. That's half a million already. Now, when you have a place, there's a color code. You cannot. You may have to do some repairs, some repainting, some rewiring, and co. You'll be surprised, before you even shelf, you can spend another 100 or 200,000. Then your shelf, no matter how local you want to do your shelf, for a shop that meet up the requirement of the size of a retail outlet, you should spend nothing less than 500,000. It can even be times five of that amount, depending on what you want to use. If you want to use glass shelf, you want to use metal shelf, you want to use wooden shelf, the cost will be different. So let's say you're going with the minimum standard, maybe MDF or the normal ordinary wood. You would spend nothing less than 5 to 700,000 for a low budget rent. You can see already we're talking about 1.5 or more, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
You also you also have, of course, all those your signboards. The fridge is a necessity, office equipment and co. So this 5M we're talking about, you may end up spending up to even 4M in the premise. Now, if you want to also use inventory management system, it may cost more. CCTV cameras and connectivity, it may cost much. Solar installation may cost much. So I say minimum 5 million. You can decide to manage to use 2 million to do those things, low budget. Then you have maybe 2.5 million to stock. But there is a pharmacy for whatever budget that is not less than this 5M. That 10M my brother mentioned can even be used to buy product of one company. So I think the minimum I would want to peg it at 5M,
Thank you so
excluding rent.
much. Thank you so much, pharmacist. Thank you so much, pharmacist. So I believe with both the responses, our audience are able to get, the information that might have been hidden from them. So and thank you so much, guys, for that. So now we go to the next question. But before we go to the next question, to the audience following the session, please, if you have any question or anything you will want these two pharmacists, to respond to, please feel free to drop it in the comment section. And then along the line, towards the end of the session, we are going to be looking at those questions. So thank you very much. So now, the next question is this: what are some of the factors and challenges that can stand in the way of anyone who wants to start a community pharmacy? Definitely, there must be challenges that in anything someone does, there are challenges. But then, what are some of the challenges that can come in the way of anyone that wants to start a community pharmacy? Um, Pharmacist Bauer responded to that first, so let's go with Pharmacist Avindia this time around. We lost Pharmacist Avindia due to some network issue. Okay, Pharmacist Bauer, can you go on first?
Okay, thank you so much. Challenges are a part of the requirement for growth in life. But for when it comes to community pharmacy, one of the major challenge that you encounter, first of all, is in terms of your skill. A professional person, if you are a licensed pharmacist yourself, how do you be able to register and get everything done? Then, if you are not a non-pharmacist person, how do you even get a pharmacist in the first place to register the place for you and or superintend the place for you? Then, second challenge that we encounter as a startup pharmacy is location, because business has to do with location. Once you have a wrong location, no matter what you stock in your place, to make sales will be very difficult. In fact, to even have impact in the community is very difficult. So you have to find a location that is very accessible and it's a nice position for business. So most times the challenges of location. Then another thing that comes as a challenge for startup is the issue of the distance from this pharmacy to another pharmacy, because you can't just open pharmacy like randomly. There's a requirement from the regulatory body, that is PCN now. For pharmacy to pharmacy is about 200 meters distance. So let's say your neighbor has pharmacy already, You can't just come and open pharmacy close to that person. You have to look for another shop that is a bit far away from that person. The second challenge is issue of the patent medicine vendors. I know most people don't know the difference between a patent medicine store and a pharmacy store. For pharmacy store is where you have a licensed pharmacy, it's a professional environment, a community pharmacy. But for patent medicine vendor, it could be secondarian, technician, pharmacy technician, or anybody that have basic pharmacy experience. And those guys too have their own challenges in terms of the distance from where you intend to open and with their own premise. So issue of location is another big challenge. Then for most people, again, the issue of the capital we talk about initially, you can see someone that has done the shelving, has gotten the shop, have did all those basic things, but to get the money to stock the place is another big challenge because for a pharmacy that is starting up, it's not nice to always have out of stock. It's not. It will be nice for someone to burn his fuel and come from a very far place. It won't be nice for someone that is coming from a very distant place and drive all the way, spend money on fuel, and you tell the person that you don't have so drug that they came looking for. It's a bit challenging because it's like a slap on your face. You want to grow, but the capital is not there to stock it well and have everything available. These are some of the few things I have to say. If you are my brother from Avindia, will take off from there. Thank you.
Oh, you can write on pharmacist. So the question was, what are some of the challenges and the setbacks that may step in the way of anyone that wants to run a community pharmacy or is running a community pharmacy?
Okay. I will combine the two, just as my brother have rightly said. Some of the challenges of community pharmacies. Number one is regulatory challenges. What I mean by that is we have mentioned a few regulatory requirements by the Pharmacy Council. If you are not meeting up to any of those requirements, it can be a setback for you. You can get a shop and the size did not meet up or the location does not meet up and cope. That is a challenge. Then, well, I'm focusing on startup. I'm not talking about challenges of community pharmacy in general. I'm just talking about challenges of startup. Then now the second challenges is your capital. Now when I'm talking about capital, I want to talk about capital in three areas. Number one is the financial capital that is required. Of course, my brother has mentioned already, it could be a challenge. So as you're planning to start, think of how you can overcome this challenge. Then number two, capital is human resource capital. Of course, uh, from experts, your human capital is required. Pharmacy is not fully automated. You need human capital. And then being an intellectual and a healthcare and a professional setting, not just anyone can fit in. So sometimes you see people having all the other requirements, but you see, human capital is can be a problem. Then number three, challenges or capital that I'm talking about can be um, knowledge. A lot of people have passion for the business, have like the business or like the practice, but the knowledge is can be also a setback. Somebody can tell you, I love this, but I tried it, but everything went out mess. So then finally, I've talked about regulatory challenges. I talk about capital, which I talk about human capital, financial capital, and knowledge or technical capital. Then another challenge can also be access to inventory. Access to inventory. Things like insecurities have affect some locations already. That access to inventory has become a problem. So while some other people, there are just other factors, new settlement, or town that are still coming up, those can still be challenged. People can come looking for things and you go the whole town you didn't get due to access of commodities. Supply chains is also another challenge. Thank you.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much, pharmacist, for that. I think that was so concise and informative. So now, looking at another angle. Now, this one is strictly for people who are pharmacists. Now, can a pharmacist, have, a job somewhere, maybe is running a job somewhere and then on a pharmacy, a community pharmacy? Let's go with pharmacist Avindia this time around. Okay, you should be the first to give us a comment on this.
All right, yes, it's possible. I have mentioned that if you are not the one to be your superintendent pharmacist, you give an appointment to another pharmacist to be your superintendent pharmacist. So even if you're busy, you're even out of the country, or you're hooked up in another work or engagement and you have the passion, all you need to do is set up the place and give another person an appointment to be your superintendent pharmacist. Then lately, there have been some ungazetted uh, openings that is some is unique to some states, while some states are still undecisive, where pharmacists have the opportunity to multi-practice. There are some gazettes, I cannot quote them directly on air, but there are some openings, again, professionally, that some states or the PCN itself is trying to come up with things like the idea of satellite pharmacy. Like, let me just talk about satellite pharmacy. Satellite pharmacy is a type of pharmacy that is located in a satellite location, and the idea is you'll be able to identify another pharmacist within that location, maybe practicing in the hospital, to come and be the main pharmacist in that satellite setting. So there are a lot of things around this subject matter which we may not be able to discuss in details here, but all I'm saying that is possible. That's the summary. It's possible.
Oh, thank you so much. So please, if you are a pharmacist out there and then you are thinking, okay, you are having a job, so how can you be able to, own a pharmacy? There's a way out for you. So just get the right knowledge here and then go in, to own your own pharmacy. So over to you, pharmacist Bauer. Can you tell us your own reflection about that?
Okay, it's very possible for someone that is working somewhere or with the government to also own a community pharmacy, but the major challenge is if you are a permanent staff, because there's what we call locum or permanent staff. For someone that is a permanent staff, you can't use your license in your own community pharmacy, but in terms of R&D register and go, or someone that register for your premise. It's just like if I'm available.
Oh, the network at it again.
Can you hear me
Pharmacist
now?
Fumen. Yeah, yeah, we can hear you
Just
now.
like
Yeah.
just like from Avindia,
Go on. We can hear you. Go on.
just like from Avindia have rightly said, organization and also open a community pharmacy from your CAC. You are the director of the company, you are everything of the company. But when it comes to registration, what will determine whether you use your if you use your license or not is if you are a permanent staff or you are a locum staff. So that's my own opinion concerning that. Thank you.
Thank you for adding to that also. So while you are still on the on while you are still holding the mic, so you made mention of RNG. Can you tell us a bit more? Can you elaborate a bit more on that RNG?
Okay, R&G has to do with register and go, meaning a licensed pharmacist that is into something. For instance, now there are so many tech that is happening around the world. Everything now is becoming online. I know people that their full time job they are into online stuff, so they don't want to practice. They don't want to practice the pharmacy profession. So someone can register a premise somewhere, then he will now go on his on career and not practice. So that's the R&D, register and go. But most cases, you have to also ensure that you are the person that will be called whole responsible in the premise if something goes wrong or something happens. So even when you do the R&G, it doesn't mean that you just do the R&G and forget about the place. You have to also be, because as far as I'm concerned, you are the superintendent pharmacist of that premise whenever you do R&G. So you can do R&G. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. So, Pharmacist Vindia, can you hear your reflection about R&G?
Okay. First of all, I the Pharmacy Council of Nigeria frowns at R&G. R&G is a malpractice. That is the stand of the council. As far as the council is concerned, if you take up the role of a superintendent, it means you are the overseer of that premises. And there is no way an overseer will be missing in action. So the idea of RNG, in fact, the term RNG is not an official term. The Pharmacy Council in their lay down rules doesn't have anything or a room called RNG. It is expected that wherever you are registering, you are superintending over the place. So that is now. But if you are engaged, you have other things doing, of course, even in your own house or your own pharmacy premises, it is almost not possible to be there 247, right? Even if your house is next door to the shop. So that is where the idea of having other pharmacists, other colleagues working with you. In a standard community pharmacy, you don't only have one pharmacist. You end up having um, maybe if we have the superintendent pharmacist, we can now have the chief pharmacist there. We can now have other pharmacists if the place is big. You can also have pharmacy technician, which their license have accord them some level of uh, expertise to be able to do some form of practice under your supervision. But not that is not to say you're leaving them completely. So the R&G people are talking about is more of a type of malpractice where people just go and register a premises, and then out of 365 days, they don't even step in to spend few hours there. So the idea of R&G is a malpractice the council frowns against. And then when you understand what it means to superintend over a place, you will know that a superintendent pharmacy should be on ground. And if for any reason you pick up, maybe you're doing other business, family engagement, religious engagement, also that makes you not to be stable, it is also good to employ other pharmacists that will support you, because they also have the license to dispense some control items and to do some level of practices in your absence. And of course, when you're having other pharmacists on ground, they will be able to stand in for you effectively. So that is what I can say about R&G.
Wow, these are a whole lot of guidance. Anybody that is a newbie into this system and then trying to step foot into the system, I think this is enough, to make the person, to avoid some things that will put him or her into trouble. Thank you so much for that, also, Pharmacist Avindia. It looks we lost Pharmacist Fumen Bauer at some point, but he will be joining us right away back. So we are done with 8 questions and just left with about 17 minutes. Let's see how we can be able to have this whole session conclude in a total of 60 minutes. So this takes us to the next question. So now we have so many charges that the pharmacy regulatory bodies are making, and then even though you were able to give us a cap of an estimate of what those things will cost, but then what are those charges for, and then what are, how frequent do one pay those charges? For instance, you made mention of something like, okay, maybe if someone wants to start a community pharmacy, then the charges alone that one will be paying, can amount up to maybe hundreds of thousands, maybe 400, 500. But what are those charges for? We have things like, okay, Association of Lady Farmers. So just give us a list of those charges so that they will be able to, have an information or knowledge about what those charges are.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I want to also clarify that the arm of the government that is responsible for training, uh, practice, licensing, and regulation of pharmacy activity is Pharmacy Council of Nigeria. Now, the charges to Pharmacy Council of Nigeria, number one is your license fee. Every year you pay charges for your license. Before, less than 10 years of practice used to be 1,005. but as it is, it has been upgraded. I don't want to quote the exact value, maybe 5,000 or I can't have
Yeah,
it.
it's
It's
four
just
thousand
this
there, I
year.
think. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
4,000 now. Then
yeah.
those that are above 10 years of graduation, they have a different charges. Now the next charges you have is the premises license. Premises license is being renewed every year also, which for retail formerly used to be around less than 10,000, but now it has been upgraded, right? Now, as far as pharmacy council is concerned, this is the routine charges. Now, other things that are charges is MCPD. MCPD means mandatory continuous professional development. Those are modules of courses you do once a while as a professional to keep you up to date. Of course, during that time, you will pay for those modules. Another charges that can come is routine inspection. Once in a while, the council organize what we call routine inspection. And any year that is tagged an inspection year, you are expected to pay a fee known as inspection fee. So that is another charges that is not a recurrent charge every year. Some states do inspection twice, well, once after every 2 years. Different states have the way they operate. So these are charges that are to the pharmacy councils. Other things, I won't call them charges, is procurement. You can buy Form K, that's the poison box. You can buy publications and co. Those ones, I won't call them charges. Now, the other umbrella is we are talking about the professional associations, because most times people tend to mix these two. They are not a pharmacy council. I've mentioned they are the sole arm of government that is regulating your licensing, their practice, and the training of pharmacists in Nigeria. Now, coming back to the professional bodies, we have PSN, of course, Pharmacy Society of Nigeria. That's the bigger umbrella that every pharmacist is
Oh, it seems we lost the two. Yeah. Pharmacist Davindia's network also hooked, and pharmacist Bawa was knocked down by the internet. But let's just give them some few seconds to see if they can catch up sooner. Yeah.
all right. So there is annual dues. We call it dues. There are annual dues you pay for PSN national and for PSN state. Every state have their dues. It's not uniform, but the national is uniform. Then number two, under the Pharmacy Society of Nigeria, we have different other subgroups, like those in the community pharmacy. I'm focusing on them. There is what we call Association of Community Pharmacies of Nigeria, ACPN. Now, ACPN is under the umbrella of PSN. It's not a parallel group. So it also have a state levy or state due and a national due. So since we are talking about community pharmacy, I'm limiting it here. And if you're a lady practicing in community pharmacy or whichever sector, you also have due to pay for your association of lady pharmacy. So these are the charges. Now there are other charges that, like the taxes, they also occur every year. This time is a constraint here, but apart from PCN, then the groups like the PSN and ACPN, that's Association of Community Pharmacy, since we are talking about community pharmacy, and ALP, Association of Lady Pharmacies. Then you also have some tax based on your state. Some states have their urban planning dues. They come for your signboard, you pay charges every year, right? Some states have Center of Business Innovation and Commerce. They have some charges they charge business owners annually, right? Then there's also personal income tax. It's also a charge you pay for yourself and for your staff every year. And then lastly, you also have company income tax you pay to Federal Inland Revenue Service. I'm just touching these things briefly.
Sure,
We
sure,
are
sure.
preparing
Very
something
important. It's
that
quite
that
informative.
will
Yeah.
be able to help us. So these are charges that apply to you annually. Thank you.
Wow. So, please, if you are watching us on this session, please, this whole information is not to scare you away or to discourage you from owning a community pharmacy, but just to equip you with the necessary information so that you not just jump into something that will just go and make you to have unplanned surprises. Yeah, so thank you so much, Pharmacist Avindia, for all that information. So now, having heard about all those charges and from the professional bodies, from the associations, from and even the premise renewal or something like that, if it is not your own permanent premises. So, what
Yeah.
is your recommendation, for profit margin, in percentage or maybe as a markup on pharmaceutical products? This may vary based on individual, but looking at it from maybe a, a, a cumulative point of view, or will I say from a universal point of view, what could be a recommended markup for anyone that wants to go into pharmaceutical, pharmacy, community pharmacy?
Well, well, this question is a bit tricky because there are all before you put markup. Now we are talking about business now, not profession.
Sure, sure,
There
sure,
are so many factors. For example, 0.5 is tax already, right? Now,
sure.
other things to consider is expiry, damages, and all those recurrent expenditures you normally have, right? So, most community pharmacies shouldn't have a markup less than 30%, not less than, because most hospitals do 20 something percent, and so not it shouldn't be less than 30%, because even the people coming to buy commodities from you to take care of their health and still be able to buy their essential needs from you. So it shouldn't be less than 30%. You can, at your discretion, based on your expenses, based on your location, you can decide to make it higher. But if you are opening the organization for charity, is also something you can just decide to go below that, or if for any other reason you can go below that. It's not a rule. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pharmacist Avindia. So, Pharmacist Bawa, you're welcome back. Sorry we lost you for some time. Due to time constraint, just to summarize a discussion we had with Pharmacist Avindia around the charges that one should be expecting when going into community pharmacy. He mentioned things like association of the PCN charges, license renewals, things like the PSN charges, that is annual charges, the PSN, okay, ALP, and all those charges. So he was able to mention all that. But then the following question on that was like, okay, now looking at all these charges, so what will be your recommended profit margin, or will I say markup, that you recommend for whoever that will want to go into community pharmacy? So I don't know if you have any additional comment you want to add to that charges. Then if none, then maybe you can just go straight to your recommended markup for whoever that is planning to go into community pharmacy. We lost pharmacist Fumian Bauer again. So, wow, that's a network issue. So maybe we move to the next question before he comes back, pharmacist Avindia, for time sake. So now we just got a recommendation of that profit margin. So now we have some pharmacies, that are struggling and not making any, progress in terms of profitability and client base. So what could possibly be the cause of such? Is there any recommendation or any area you will want to touch base, to be able to help whoever that is passing through such challenges?
Okay. Well, there are a lot of challenges with community pharmacists, and what you do to address that challenge depend on the challenge itself. Depend on the challenge itself. Sometimes it's a knowledge challenge, which means you need to update yourself knowledge wise to be able to attend to people satisfactory, that will bring profit. People don't just come and dash you money. They will
Sure.
want you to solve a problem, and then they'll be willing to pay. So if you are not solving it effectively, of course, you will not get paid. Now, there could also be other challenges, like funding is a challenge, manpower is a challenge. I've mentioned some challenge. So
Sure.
I will summarize it by saying the most of your challenges will be overcome when you associate. Because in association of community pharmacy, for instance, we have special interest on making sure every community pharmacy thrive. There are farm academy to build your knowledge. Are you with me? Then there
Sure,
are
I'm with you.
aggregation of community pharmacy, where pharmacies link up to connect themselves to be able to make sale. Are you with me? Then there
Yes,
are
sir.
other intervention intervention projects that come up in community pharmacy to help in different areas. We have, like for example, in Kaduna, we have MyShamed taking care of your inventory management system. Some people close up because of managing inventory. MyShamed came as an intervention. And then we also have the tax shifting and tax sharing policies that is now allowing community pharmacy to engage in some practices like the vaccination, family planning services. Are you with me? Then
Yes, sir.
there are other interventions that even focus on funding, like this promotion accreditation for community health service PACS project that is trying to even give out some sums of soft loan to boost the business. We also have even the Association of Community Pharmacy have its own cooperative society. And then there are other interventions that even give you power supplies. So all I'm saying is that how to solve the challenges. Number one, the challenge is unique. You solve it based on the way it is. But to sum it all, most of your challenge in community pharmacy, the solution is in the association. And that's why unionism is very important. So to solve your challenge, don't stand alone. It's not good to fight alone. It's not good to face your problems alone. There are associations at different level. Be a part of it. Share the challenge. Already before you come, there are templates and interventions to manage some of those challenges or most of those challenges.
Thank you so much, Pharmacist Avindia. I can see you muted your mic, so I guess you are done responding to that question. So, Pharmacist Bawa, sorry we lost you intermittently due to network challenge, and we can understand how frustrating network can be. So, we are barely 4 minutes to the end of this session, and then we have passed some questions, but then just want to have your reflection on the question, which is I feel it's very important to also have your own view about it, looking at the charges that most people are facing when it comes to community pharmacy. So what markup or profit margin will you recommend for whoever that is going to community pharmacy?
Okay, thank you so much. If it depends on the community pharmacy you want to involve in, is it retail or wholesale pharmacy?
Let's say
For
retail at
wholesale
the minimum.
pharmacy,
Yeah.
okay, retail should not be less than 30%. Why so is because of the a lot of expenditures that's been required from your end, because the professional body, even when it comes in terms of license, you are paying for license, you are paying for almost every other thing. Because for instance, someone that sells provision is not the same with someone that sells pharmacy, because provision there's no any requirement in terms of registration, licensing, and the rest. It's only CAC they do. If I no mean that percentage you can give for a retail pharmacy, it should not be less than 30%. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe just a number. What about the wholesale? Because you wanted mentioning something about that. It could be helpful to someone out there too. His network froze him again. Oh my goodness. Let's see how it rolls. But definitely, we're gonna come to the end of all the important questions we need to get from these important guys here. So while they come up, please, if you have any question or anything you want, them to address, please feel free to drop it in the comment section. Pharmacist Bao, are you there? We lost Pharmacist Avindia also. And we just have one more question to go before we round or close the session. This is just 2 minutes to the end of the session. Hello, pharmacist. I wished I had any music at the background I can be able to give to all. Oh my goodness, we lost all of them. Let's give them just few seconds to see if they can be able to join back, and then maybe we look at the last question. Okay, so this is barely just 1 minute left to the planned 60-minute session, but then we can give them just few minutes just to get the important information from them because it's worth it. The information these guys have been dishing out are quite very, very, very helpful. And please, one thing I will want to advise us to do is to take all this information given to us, with all seriousness, and then pay so much attention to it, because it's an information that you cannot just go and get it from a random person, because these are information that are coming out from people that have first-hand experience when it comes to community pharmacy. So pharmacist Aranda is back again. So welcome back, pharmacist Aranda. Sorry about the network
Thank
knockouts.
you
Yeah.
very much.
So
My network
here with
was a
me,
bit.
yeah, pharmacist Bawa is also back. Oh, thank you so much. So pharmacist Bawa, you were just mentioning the last one. We are our time is up, but let's just round up the questions because it's worth it. It's worth it. So now you are mentioning for what did you say, retail, and then what's the other one, please? You were mentioning the recommended markup before the network knocked you out, pharmacist Bauer. For wholesale, yeah, wholesale.
Okay, for retail pharmacy, it should not be less than 30%. Then for wholesale, it should not be less than 20%.
Okay, thank you so much. So now I think we can be going to the last question now. We can be going to the last question now. So um what other thing do you feel that you need to add to all our discussion, when it comes to someone owning a community pharmacy? Perhaps I might have missed out an important, question, you know. So please, the floor is yours, pharmacist Bauer. Then we go to pharmacist Avindia. Ah, the network froze pharmacist Bauer again. Over to you, pharmacist Avindia.
Okay, the only thing I want to say is every pharmacist, it should be a goal for every pharmacist to own a community pharmacy either now or in future. We know it better, but only us can do it better. Nobody can be your profession better than you as the professional. Even if you're working anywhere, there is a timing. As far as you're alive, your profession, your license, your knowledge and expertise remain with you. You can be sacked tomorrow in any job. Retirement can come either by age or by duration of service. So all I'm saying that we should have it at the back of our mind. Let's not pharmacists turn back to this community practice. Let every pharmacist have it in plan, even either now or in future, because that is the only way we will give our best and will make sure that our communities are having the best of medication. Can you imagine your a whole 1,000 settlement depending their healthcare needs on someone that has not even finished secondary school? It's risky.
That's
It's
so
risky.
terrible.
But
Yeah.
that is actually the reality of Nigeria, simply because of the challenges pharmacists prefer to go for high paying jobs, quick paying jobs, and then don't even have any form of plan in mind of retiring back to community pharmacy. But I am saying that community pharmacy is a common ground to all pharmacists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, pharmacist Avindia. Pharmacist Bauer, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
so
So is
much.
yeah, is there any other thing you feel you need to add? Perhaps I missed out something.
Okay, thank you so much. Community pharmacy is a community-based practice where our focus on surest. It's a service to humanity because everything you do in the community setting when it comes to medication is a service to humanity. So let's place humanity first before we look at the monetary aspect. Let's do everything with dignity, with honor, and dispense the right medication appropriately and know the reason why we're dispensing every any kind of medication. That's why the first requirement when it comes to community pharmacy is the clinical skills. You have to have the clinical skills, you have to know what you are doing, you have to know why you are doing what you are doing. Lastly, I'll talk about the managerial skill now because to own a community pharmacy, you need the managerial skill. There are things that someone can be very good in clinical skill now, but in terms of management, may be very poor. How do you manage people? How do you manage your staff?
Network
Are
at
very
it again.
important. These are very cardinal in terms of managing community pharmacy. Then lastly, I'll talk about the business aspect. I know it's a profit oriented. You are doing a business in order to make profit. After looking at the issue of it's a service to humanity, but you want to grow because nobody argue the result. You want to improve, you want to grow. So what are the business skills that you can incorporate that will give you stand you out? Clinical skill is one of them, like I've said earlier. Managerial skill is one of them because you have to know how to make sure that you manage your people
Network. At least the good part of it is that we were able to get out all the important information that we needed for this whole session. And I believe whoever that was watching this session from the beginning have gotten every other information that they need in terms of, owning a community pharmacy. So apologies for all the network glitches. So um, first, I want to start by appreciating the guests here. So there seem not to be any question in the comment that requires a response from the guests. I want to thank you, Pharmacist Avindia, and then thank you, Pharmacist Fumen, for this generosity because we don't take this for granted. We are in an age where information is key. And all those people that will benefit from this knowledge that you guys have shared, believe
Thank
you
you
me,
so
an
much,
impact is going to last
MI
so much.
Visa.
Thank you so much for that. And to our viewers, thank you for staying to this end of the session. And just to shed more light, Achievers Preach Career Night is a monthly virtual event that holds every last Sunday of the month. And I want to assure you that Career Nights will give you all the best when it comes to your dreams. And we will connect you with all the relevant information and individuals needed for your dreams to come true. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, kindly do that now because we also have a weekly video upload just to shine more light on your own way to success. See you guys in February Career Night. And then Pharmacist Bawa is back again. Thank you so much, Pharmacist Bawa. Thank you so much, Pharmacist Avindia. Thank you for giving your time to all the audience.